When it comes to Call of Duty, the main reason I play the franchise is specifically for zombies. I'm one of those players that started playing the mode all the way back on World at War, but it wasn't until Black Ops 1 where I really got into it. Over the course of many Call of Duty games, some good, others not so much, we've gone different iterations of the mode. Unfortunately, the last two versions of Call of Duty Zombies have not been good. At all. Modern Warfare Zombies was bad, and Vanguard was absolutely terrible. Regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that Zombies hasn't even been decent since Cold War, which dropped back in 2020. So hearing that Black Ops 6 Zombies is going to be like a better version of that is like music to my ears. But let me explain why I think that. Let's rewind back to 2020 when Cold War first released. It was a couple years after Black Ops 4, which if you played Zombies at the time, the reception wasn't all that great, but it was still light years better than what it is now. We were in the midst of that time, which I won't mention, and we had no idea what direction the story was going to go in, as the main crew that we had been playing with has finally been killed off. So once Cold War released, we were met with a host of new changes. No playable crew, no buildable zombie shield, a crafting bench, an exfil mode, along with some other stuff. All of this was a big switch up to what we were used to, and honestly, I didn't like it at first. But then something strange happened. It all started to click. These new gameplay mechanics weren't what we wanted, obviously, but it was still accomplishing the same thing at its core. Technically, you still had a shield, you were still able to craft things, all of it was just done a bit different. Combine the easy main Easter egg quest with a new mode called Outbreak, and this zombies experience was different than before. Now you might ask, what does this have to do with Black Ops 6? Well, being that BO6 is going to be very similar to Cold War, that's where I draw a lot of my conclusions in regards to what the gameplay will be like, once we actually play it. Now if you ask me, if you take all those changes I just mentioned and put them in the next Black Ops game, then I'm all for it, because everything in Cold War is better than what we've gotten in the past years. You'd have to go all the way back to Black Ops 4 for a zombies experience that was anything similar to what we used to get. To be 100% honest, I'm right there with that crowd that wants things to go back to the way they used to be, like in Black Ops 3 and before. In my opinion, Black Ops 3 is the peak zombie experience. Everything from the map variety, characters, gameplay elements, and story all were incredible. Was every map perfect? No. Were there issues with the mode? Of course. But overall, Black Ops 3 Zombies is as good as it gets. And if I had it my way, I wouldn't want BO6 to literally be a continuation of the Cold War story, but the gameplay is just a reskin of BO3, because that game is just that good. But when we actually got to see the gameplay for Black Ops 6 Zombies, it was literally night and day. On one hand, the Terminus map looks exactly like what we've been asking for, as it's large, dark, and has an ominous feeling, aligning with what you'd think of in regards to zombies. Then on the flip side, you have Liberty Falls, which after seeing that gameplay, it has the entire community torn. What I find interesting about this whole situation is that the other YouTubers that went and played Terminus said that it's fantastic and nothing like Liberty Falls, yet so many people on the internet continue to slander the game. I get it, it's the internet, but it's almost like the community was expecting for this game to go completely back to what zombies used to be. And honestly, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. If you played any franchise consistently over a long span of time, you know that it constantly changes or evolves with each new iteration, and Zombies is no different. Why would Treyarch make BO6 exactly like BO3 when that game doesn't cater to new Zombies players? It makes no sense. Like I mentioned earlier, I wish this was the case, but yeah, I don't think this is going to happen. Instead, what they did was try to incorporate the best elements from both Cold War and BO3, and I think, from the gameplay we have, it paid off. Just look at the intro cutscene for both maps. They're cinematic and visually stunning, just like Black Ops 3. If you remember during that time, BO3 was the first full zombies game to have full-on cutscenes for each map, including the intro and Easter egg completions. Yes, we've gotten intros in the past, but outside of Origins, we didn't get outro cutscenes for Easter eggs. So this addition was incredible in that game, only for it to be watered down some in Cold War, as just by looking at the cutscenes in that game, you can notice the dip in quality. However, in BO6, I think the cutscenes will be depicted in their best possible form, just like in BO3, already based off what we received so far. Without a shadow of a doubt, at least on the surface, Liberty Falls lacks that zombies feel. If you didn't know any better and you just took a quick glance at the map, then you would think it's a multiplayer map. It's missing the little nuances that make a zombies map. There's no lightning in the sky, dark ether areas outside of the church, and the buildings themselves just look too intact. If you played Zombies before Cold War, then you know how a map should look like. Even still, it occurred to me that the situation around this map could be one of two things. One, Treyarch is hiding more than we realize. Call me crazy, but there could be an entire section of the map hidden either underground or somewhere else entirely, because I think there's a portal or teleporter somewhere on the map. If this is the case, then all of us, including myself, would have to eat crow, because that means there would be a lot more to this map than meets the eye. Ideally, it would be nice if it could kind of be on the level of Alpha Omega, where you could go underground and it was a whole other area. I think that would work well, but the point is that there's a decent possibility that completing something on the map unlocks additional areas or changes the atmosphere to make it align closer to what we're used to. The second thing could be the complete opposite. Treyarch could have just dropped the ball in regards to marketing and presented this map as a fully fledged map with a lengthy Easter egg quest among other things, when it's obviously more akin to a bonus map. Now, one could say that this was obvious based on the gameplay, but when you market your product as one thing, that leads to a certain level of expectations, and when those aren't met, you're going to hear about it. If this was the case, then that would explain why the map is the way it is, and it makes sense for that to be the map that they showed at COD Next, because that's the event with all the eyes on it. So showing off a zombies map that's bare bones and made for casuals lines up perfectly. Even with that information, I don't get the hate for this map. At its core, it will still play like Terminus, the map is just different. The gameplay will be just like Cold War with some tweaks, but we all know that already. This is no different than past COD games where one of the zombie maps on launch was clearly weaker than the other, but people still played it nonetheless. Yes, I agree that the way the map was marketed was wrong, and there's a good chance that this map won't be memorable, but that's okay. If you played zombies for a long time, you'll remember that people were trashing Shadows of Evil when Black Ops 3 first dropped, all because it was different than Black Ops 2. So this is nothing new. But let's look at things on a smaller level. Like I've already said, the gameplay is going to be just like Cold War with some additional changes. The most obvious is the return of Gobblegums from BO3. Just for this feature alone, I don't get how someone could complain. Literally, the only downside of Gobblegums is that it may make the game too easy, or that obtaining Liquid Divinium was too slow. But even if you think either of those things, using the gums is still completely optional. Nobody's forcing you to use them, it's just an additional mechanic to make the gameplay more fun. I'll be using them personally. In regards to the loadouts, it's a similar situation. No matter the map you play on, you start out with a loadout, which many people don't like. Unlike the gums, you're forced to bring one in with you, but if you want that classic zombies experience, just make your loadout nothing but a pistol. Not a hard concept. It's like some of these zombies fans just want a complete reset and won't accept anything less or even a happy medium. But again, I reiterate, I do like the old style zombies more, but the way the internet talks is like Black Ops 6 will be Vanguard Zombies tier, which is insanity. Even the biggest issue I have with BO6 so far, which is the HUD, can be remedied, sort of. In the marketing for this game, Treyarch has mentioned that you can customize the HUD to your liking, but even with this customization, I don't think you can make it exactly how it looked in the older games. Again, if you played Cold War, you can just set it to look like that. It'll be like nothing changed. But this brings me to something I don't understand at all regarding this HUD. It could just be me, but why is the bottom left area of the HUD look like it was ripped right out of Modern Warfare 3? It just looks nasty. It's crazy how the HUD looked completely fine years ago, but the devs felt the need to change it. Some things just don't need fixed. Personally, I would love to add small character images for everyone in the party instead of just the usernames. Having pictures of the set crew adds this small layer of immersion that is unspoken, but definitely recognized by every player. It's odd it's not in there because in the gameplay they showed where you play as one of the boss zombies, that zombie has an image by their health bars, so I'm thinking that should be easy to implement. Speaking on the Easter egg quest, this is where I'm kinda torn on. I like how easy the quests were in Cold War because of replayability, but as a seasoned zombies vet, I do like them to be somewhat challenging. I understand why these eggs are easier, because Treyarch wants to cater to new players and to get them to complete the quest. However, that didn't work because they actually said on an interview that only a small percentage of players even completed them in Cold War. So to remedy this, they're introducing a guided mode which will handhold the player through the quest so casuals can complete the eggs too. At first, I thought this was a bad idea, but after some thought, I actually love it. When first playing a map, you'll want to find the clues and figure out the main quest normally, but eventually, after doing that over and over, sometimes I wish I could just run through the main quest without having to do all the other stuff that comes with it. So when you have those days where you just want to run through it fast, or maybe you only have a short amount of time to play, this mode is perfect. And to make things better, the guided mode won't be available on launch, so your first experience with the map will be the normal mode. One thing that was missing from Cold War was an actual crew, and I'm so happy that we got one for BO6. It hits even more if you play Cold War because you're already familiar with who they are. It doesn't seem that important, but playing as a set crew really does make a difference. Hearing the unique dialogue lines and banter between each of them adds more to the overall story and lore of zombies. It's so boring playing as operators who don't say a single word, and the only bit of emotion they portray is their grunting as they leap over obstacles. Of course, no crew is going to be better than the OG crew of Richtofen, Dempsey, Nikolai, and Takeo, but this one should do the trick. Understanding their motivations from Cold War and knowing their fate in Modern Warfare 3 makes this story even more intriguing, as there's gaps to fill for this particular crew. I'm just excited to use characters that make the dialogue a bit more exciting during the actual gameplay. Overall, I think the hate for BO6 Zombies is a bit more in line with an overreaction. Most of the gameplay mechanics are from Cold War, and if you played that game, then you know exactly what to expect. After watching the gameplay, it's apparent that Treyarch tried to merge the best aspects of BO3 and Cold War, and I hope that upon release, all of it successfully comes together. Now, if you didn't play Cold War, or maybe the last Zombies you did play was BO4, then you might be in for a rude awakening. And to be fair, I completely understand if you just want things to be how they used to be, with the classic style of gameplay and maps, but I don't think that'll ever come back. If I could ask a genie for one wish, it would be a Cold War sequel with BO3 gameplay. But I think that what we're getting will be the best COD Zombies mode we've had since maybe BO4. Considering how bare bones Cold War was in many ways, and the fact Treyarch has had 4 years to develop this, I think this iteration of Zombies will be solid. Lastly, Treyarch has said that a third Zombies map will be dropping before the end of the year, so we have even more content on the way. Will it be on the level of Terminus, or more in line with Liberty Falls? Only time will tell, but for me, I think that I'll end up enjoying BO6 Zombies way more than Cold War, and a lot more than Modern Warfare 3 and Vanguard. How do you feel about Black Ops 6 Zombies? Are you excited for it, or are you more skeptical after seeing the Liberty Falls footage? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.